So I wanted to talk about how to be happy inside ourselves. And like, one thing that I noticed with a former partner is just how negative and critical and judgmental he was. And he would say, like, I would, just blurt things out. But he would say to me, like, I'm judgmental, I'm not judgvocal. And at the time, I thought that was amazing. Like, wow, yeah, okay, that's really insightful. And what I didn't realize was that it's still judging. It's still there, and it is not. I mean, I don't think, anyway, not that I've seen, but it does not seem to be possible to have like that incandescent happiness when you are coming from that like judgmental place, regardless of whether or not you say it to people. Um, we used to argue a lot about whether or not he was being honest with me, because he would think stuff and I could tell, and he wouldn't say it. um, but I'm noticing in myself, as I kind of shift my mental state, that I'm so much happier when I'm not coming from like a negative, critical, judgmental place. Like, I didn't. What's that saying? It's like hell is other people. No, lies. It's not accurate. Hell is what we do inside of our own heads, over and over and over and over again. I have put myself through more pain, more sadness, more anguish, more despair, more trauma, more torture than ever actually existed physically to me, which is, that was, I thought I was getting prepared, for like, what if something happens? What would I do? Or thinking about things that happened in the past, and my feelings about it. And our brains don't really notice the difference between a memory and like an imagining. It's kind of one of the fundamental underlying things of people who are into like manifestation or visualization for like getting your goals. The idea being, as far as your brain is concerned, what you are thinking in your mind is real. So it's like a real thing for you to have experienced. And so that ruminating habit of thinking about a thing over and over and over and over again, it's so, and the thing is it's completely normal. It's a completely normal trauma response. It's completely normal, especially when you don't know what to do with it. It's a thing we do when we're stuck. We're holding an experience, we're holding an emotion, we don't know how to process it, and so the brain just goes like this hamster wheel, and you get nowhere. But I finally realized, like, I'm reliving. I'm not just experiencing a sucky ass experience. I'm now reliving it. Hundreds of times or however many. And, reconnecting. Oh man, there's this meme where, I forget, somebody, it was like some, I want to say Instagram post or something. They said, anybody else like hurt themselves so much by just thinking about sad stuff and making themselves cry? And I was like, oh, me. I've done that. Oh my god. And it's so weird. So I kind of mentioned on the subreddit the day before, about how certain things hit us differently in different phases of our healing process. Like particularly like that positivity stuff. Like when you're in that active crisis and someone's like, be positive, you're like, shut the fuck up. I don't need that shit. But then, we come out of that active crisis phase, we get into the integration phase, and then maybe the processing phase. And I wouldn't even say, like, at that point, I wouldn't even say, be positive, be happy. What I would say is, like, man, don't magnify the crap that we've experienced. Like, fuck it. Yeah, we experienced it. But oh man, like we turn our emotions and thoughts on it, and we magnify it, and then that becomes our whole world, and it is self-torture. It's kind of a form of self-abuse almost. Like, I've made myself feel worse more often than anyone ever has made me feel. Uh, I've said more horrible things. I've imagined more bad stuff happening. I've repeated bad situations in my brain. And again, right? We do that because we're trying to process an experience, and we're stuck, and that's why we do that. And some of this is just, it takes time, but definitely getting in those, like, let's say obsessive thinking patterns, or those thinking loops, those thought loops, the habits, the way that we talk to ourselves. Wow. Like, none of us deserve that. We don't. It's terrible. So now, I mentioned in past videos, what I mentioned was, I think I'm ready to start dating. I'm going to start dating casually, and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm dating this person. And, both trying to take it slow, but we are not casually dating. That did not go the way I anticipated it would. But one of the things is, I'm recognizing in this other person, they have such a positive mindset. I hate to use positive, but he's not looking for negative shit. He's like in the moment experiencing, happy experiences, and so even if because I've being in abusive relationships, you get really self-conscious about how you are, especially if a partner criticized you for it. And so I've got like an expectation, like, oh man, this guy's gonna he's gonna react this way, and then when he doesn't, I'm like, oh, why aren't you reacting this way? And the reason is his perspective is completely different. So here's a good example. I'm super friendly when I go out, just like in the world. And generally that's a thing that people like. My ex and I had a lot of fucking arguments about how, people are going to think you're flirting. And I'd be like, you've seen me flirt. That's not how I flirt. I'm like that way with everybody. And he'd be like, no, you're like extra with guys. I'm like, no, this isn't. So, it was like this whole thing. And if I was nice to people, I think one time he told me, like, that guy was trying to take you away from me. And I'm just like, oh, he's a dude bartending. That's what they do. They, they shoot the shit and, be a little charismatic while they do it. Like, it's not serious. So anyway, I'm out with a new dude, and we're on our COVID appropriate date. We decided to go to a car wash, and a bunch of guys, are like working on the car, and I was like, oh, I forgot my bag, and I run over to get my bag, and I'm like, thanks guys, and you could tell they thought I was cute. They were attracted to me, right? But it wasn't a thing. So I was like, oh no, he's gonna think that I was flirting with those guys. I swear to God, I wasn't flirting with them. I'm starting to wind up and getting ready for it. And I just back down. I was like, listen, I'm so sorry. I promise I was not flirting with those guys. I'm just really happy right now. And he's like, what are you talking about? I know what it looks like when you flirt. That's not you flirting. And I was like, oh, such a fucking sigh of relief. I'm like, how did I do that other shit for 3 years? What? Oh, dude. Oh. So I explained to him, with my ex, he would have told me that those guys would think I was flirting with them, and it would have been a fight, and yada yada. And he's like, well, of course they think you're attractive. Of course they're attracted to you. I know you're with me. I'm proud to be out with you. And I was just like, oh, what a different perspective. What? And then he said, oh, that guy sounds insecure, which was, 100% true. You nailed it. What's the difference? The difference is, how did my ex view me being happy and positive with other people? And how does this present guy view me being happy and positive with people? My ex was seeing it as a threat. Somebody might take me away. Or I might be more interested in somebody else. And the new guy's like, nah, she mine. And yeah, of course you do. And, that's the thing that I like about you. So it's so dramatic to see how much our perception of something affects how we feel about it, our perception filter, our beliefs, the framework we're using. Like his framework is so nice, it's so great. And so he doesn't draw the same conclusions that somebody else that I dated did, because he's not coming from the same place. He doesn't analyze information the same way. And then once he does get to a conclusion, he's not coming at me the same way about it either. It's a completely different dynamic. It's a completely different paradigm. It's quite frankly, I'm like, oh, you're so healthy. I haven't seen a red flag yet. Just it's such a different way of being. And so it really does for me drive home the idea of like how important the way we think about things is. And I remember like being back in like the crisis phase and thinking like, nobody likes me. I'm always I'm always like the one out in a group, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or like all these things, right? We carry around these insecurities, and then we take them and we come to dumb conclusions with them, like with my ex. That may or may not necessarily be true. And like he absolutely was 100% convinced that he's being objective, right? Like I'm objectively analyzing the situation, and it's like our frameworks, guys, it's huge. Like if we're not happy in life, like make sure you're not surrounded by assholes, and then start looking at your belief structure, because legit. But it's one of those things like, again, healing is a process. And so kind of coming out of this crisis phase, getting into the integration phase and the processing phase, so we can start to shift our beliefs. And that's really where it happens. So I'm in this space where I'm going, oh, man, I put myself through so much shit because of the person I was choosing to stay around, the people I was having in my life, and the thoughts I was thinking, and like all of this stuff. And now I'm with a person, and they're not critical toward me the way I've experienced before. And I feel like such a relief. Like it's such a relief. Like they truly looking at me in a way that I want to be looking at everybody, or at least safe people, let's say. But anyway, hope this made sense. Hope y'all are having a great Friday morning, Friday, whenever you see this. If you're not there in like at this particular moment, if you're not like, I'm positive, just think about it as not torturing yourself. Like, don't put yourself in a virtual reality machine of pain and sadness, or at least if you're doing it, recognize like, oh, it's because I'm feeling stuck. Okay, I'm trying to process this and I don't know how. It's a great place to start. And then you, one foot in front of the other. Anyway, talk to you next time.